Welcome back to my channel, Data Engineering Simplified. In this video, we will understand the catalog and the object concept for Snowflake certification exam. Since Snowflake decouples storage and the compute and introduce the concept of warehouses besides many different kind of objects, and each of them is having some special role and associated behavior. It is essential to understand the catalog and the object concept in depth for the Snowflake certification exam. So let's start and cover the Snowflake catalog and the object fundamentals, keynotes, tips and tricks, decide sample questions with detailed explanation to reinforce your understanding. After watching this video, you would be able to answer the following questions more confidently and without any doubt in your mind. So for example, how does database, schema, and table fit in with Snowflake accounts? What are the 4 different type of tables and if fail-safe storage is applicable for all of them? Can a temporary or a transient or an external table be cloned? When a database is cloned, what happens to its internal and external stages and what happens to the Snowpipe metadata history? Can a temporary table have the same name as a transient table or a permanent table or an external table? And if so, why? What are the differences between standard and a secure views? And what about the UDFs? What are the 4 different type of stages? Commands to move files from table to stages and vice versa. Can databases span multiple Snowflake accounts or across the cloud providers? Can a single Snowflake account load data from different cloud providers like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud? Can a single Snowflake account be deployed in multiple cloud providers for continuity of businesses? What is a namespace in Snowflake and how does it relate to the container hierarchy? And many more such questions.
So why this subject area is so important and what percentage of questions appears from this subject area? So Snowflake is not limited to traditional data objects like databases, schema, table, views, function, and UDF. It has a long list of objects which is inside the database as well as outside the database, which is at account level. How these objects behave when we apply cloning, data sharing, or a time travel concept and are very, very important, as well as these actions are having direct link with the storage cost. Many new type of objects like file format, stages, pipes, stream, task, and integration objects are introduced, and you don't find them in traditional data warehouse systems. The certification exam will ask around 6 to 7 questions, and it is very, very important that we don't get confused in this subject area, assuming that this object concept is easy to attempt without proper study and the preparation. So now you must be sure how essential this chapter is for the Snowflake certification exam.
I value your time and I don't want you to watch the complete video if you are interested in a specific section of the video. The entire video is divided into 9 sections, or we can call them chapters, starting from the introduction to the reference section. While watching the video, hover your mouse over the timeline and you can see the chapter demarcation along with the chapter description and jump to a specific part of the video directly. Alternatively, you can also refer the description section below of this video and see the list of chapters along the chapter description. This also helps you to move back and forth to different part of the video.
So why I am making these videos? I recently cleared my Snowflake certification on first attempt and I wanted to score nearly 100%, but made a couple of silly mistakes and missed the 100% score. So I decided to help others by sharing my mistakes and my experiences so you can learn from them and score good marks. My viewers are already scoring high and the success rate is pretty great. You can see the comment which I have received from my audience. My viewers are also asking interesting questions and doubts and getting their doubts clarified. So what are you waiting for? So if you find this video series meaningful and time saving, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for notification. So let's review the syllabus before we get into keynotes and the fundamentals. This subject area is specified very clearly over many other complex topics. We have already covered the data types structured as well as unstructured both in a separate videos, and you can find the link above in the card or below in the description section. Both these topics, catalog and object, along with data types, are essential from the exam point of view. And if we understand them well, we will be able to answer those small but tricky questions very confidently. So let's jump into the keynotes for the catalog and the object. So let's start with Snowflake account. A customer can have as many accounts as they want. So a question may come, a customer can have only one Snowflake account per cloud provider, or a customer can have only 10 Snowflake accounts in a Google Cloud. Each account has its own URL, which uses the name of the account. A customer can request a vanity address like toppertips.snowflakecomputing.com. Each account is deployed on a single cloud provider platform. Either it could be AWS or Azure or a GCP. A Snowflake account cannot be deployed in a multiple cloud provider. So question may come, a customer can ask to deploy its Snowflake account across two cloud providers like AWS or a GCP. So the answer is no. Each account exists in a single geographic region. So you might be asked a question, an account can exist in 3 or more geographic regions. This is false. An account can exist in all the geographic region within cloud provider for continuity of business. This is also a false statement. Each account exists with a single Snowflake edition. It could be either standard, enterprise, business critical, or VPS. It is not possible that one Snowflake account can have a multiple editions within the organization. So be careful when answering those kind of questions. Generally, Snowflake try to tweak the sentences in such a way that you get confused. So make sure that you read this statement very carefully. Let's continue. A trial account can be converted into a paid account. This is possible. When an account has just the account name followed by snowflakecomputing.com as a text, we know the cloud provider is AWS and the region is US West 2. This is the only exception in the Snowflake URLs. All other account URL has account name followed by a region and followed by the cloud provider name in it. So for example, I can say I have a XY1234. This is nothing but an account number. East US 2 is nothing but region. Azure is the cloud provider on which this Snowflake account is deployed, and followed by your snowflakecomputing.com as a text. Is this a valid Snowflake account URL? For example, East US 2 Azure snowflakecomputing.com. That kind of questions will come. So this is a wrong URL for Snowflake. Most accounts start with 2 letters followed by the 5 numbers, unless otherwise it is a AWS deployed on US West 2 region, or it could be a vanity URL. But in general, the URL will have the 2 letters followed by 5 numbers followed by your region, followed by your cloud provider name, and followed by snowflakecomputing.com. By looking at Snowflake account URL, you cannot make it if the Snowflake edition is enterprise or a standard or a business critical. Standard edition does not support multi-cluster warehouse, 90 days time travel, and secure views. So if your account does not have that feature enabled, it means it is a standard edition. So that is a trick which you can apply it when you go to the warehouse creation. If you do not see the elastic one, it means you do not have, or you are right now on the standard edition. You can request Snowflake to upgrade your account. However, it is not possible via web UI or any other means. So a question may come that, can I upgrade my edition from standard to any other edition via web UI? The answer is false, because you need to contact the Snowflake support team to upgrade your account from standard to any other higher edition. Let's understand how this relationship works with respect to accounts and databases, schemas, and object. So each database belongs to a single Snowflake account. A very important, a very simple statement, but during the exam, they would try to confuse you. A database can be replicated to other accounts, but they cannot span multiple accounts. For example, a table can span across multiple Snowflake account if a customer has a multiple Snowflake account. So this kind of questions may come, which is completely a false statement. Business critical editions support a database which can belong to a multiple Snowflake account. This is also a false statement. If you have a multiple account with the same region and a cloud provider, you can access database without sharing it. This is also a false statement, because if you read the 2.a, each database belongs to a single Snowflake account and it cannot go beyond that unless otherwise you share it via shared object. Now let's understand database and the schema. We all know the schema falls under the databases. Each schema belongs to a single Snowflake database in a single account. Schema can be replicated to other accounts or databases, but they cannot span accounts or the databases. Now, schema contains other objects. Objects include tables, views, file format, sequences, UDF, and stored procs. Object belong to a single schema in a single database in a single account. There are stream, there are task. These are other kind of object which also falls under schema. So now let's understand the object hierarchy in Snowflake. We also call it a container hierarchy. So you see that on the leftmost side, we have a user, role, warehouses, resource monitor, integration, and databases. So these are all account level objects. Now a database can have a schema and many more schema, and each schema can have table, external table, views, stored procedures, sequence, stages, file format, pipe, stream, task, and UDFs. So let's try to understand more visually. So you can see that I have the entire container. And this container, we call it account container, which has all your users, role, warehouses, resource monitor, integration, objects, and databases. A question may come that a user belongs to a schema, which is a false statement, or a role belongs to a schema or a database, false statement. These objects are at account level. When we go down and try to elaborate the databases, so an account can have many databases, and each database can have one or many schema. And each schema can have one or many tables and external tables and views and so on. So I hope this picture gives you complete clarity what is the container hierarchy. Now, if I have another account in another cloud provider within the Snowflakes, a database or a schema and all other things cannot span, and it cannot go out of this container. The only way to share a database or only way to replicate a database is through the shared object or a data replication concepts. Now, what happens when you create a Snowflake account? And let's try to understand from this simple picture. So the moment you go and try to create a Snowflake account, you need to choose two things. The first is that, the cloud provider, it could be your Azure or AWS or a GCP. And you also have to choose a region. Not every cloud provider support all the regions, but the list is growing, okay? And once you have selected the cloud provider and the region, then only you can choose the edition, because not all the editions are also applicable across all the regions. So this is how the path follows. Once your account is created, Snowflake create 5 default roles, right? Which is called account admin, security admin, system admin, public, custom role, and recently they have added called user admin. Okay, so these are the role which are automatically created for the first user. Okay, and the first user is assigned by default the security admin role, and this user can also switch the different role and perform different operations. So make sure that a question may come that how many roles are created and whether the first user get a system admin role or account admin role or what kind of role. Now, next, what happens? There are two, I would say there is a default warehouse called compute warehouse, which is created, which is extra small in size, okay? And the default size varies. However, in this case, it will be created as extra small size. The warehouse is created by default for you. The next is that it also created 2 databases, which is called DemoDB and the UtilDB. These databases are automatically available for you along with a database which has a sample data, which is a shared data. The next is that each database has an information schema, which holds catalog detail for the selected database. You can also see that each database created within the Snowflake has a default schema called a public and the default role called a public role. So very simple thing, but you need to keep it in mind. There are other parameters and other objects which are having the default behavior unless otherwise you go and change them at account level, or being an account admin, certain things is possible via account admin, certain things are possible only via security admin. So by default, when a Snowflake account is created, all the default values are retained at the account level. So what about the other objects? There are other objects which are not directly specified in the syllabus, but it is worth going and looking into them. For example, shared object, cloned object, network policies, reader account, masking policy objects, account level parameters. In general, these questions are not asked very frequently, but I suggest you to go and really look into the documentation. Let's talk about information schema. The Snowflake information schema, or it is also called as a data dictionary, consists of a set of system-defined views and table functions that provide extensive metadata information about the object created in your account. The Snowflake information schema is based on SQL 92 ANSI information schema, but with the addition of views and the functions that are specific to Snowflake. Each database created in your account automatically include built-in read-only schema named information schema. A true and false question may come from it. This schema contains the following objects. So views for all the objects contained in the database, the table function for historical and the usage data across your account. So now there are two databases, which is called UtilDB and the DemoDB. How does it look like if you really go and look into them? So this is how this databases would look like DemoDB and the UtilDB. These are the different set of information which are available within that. So you can really look into this and you can refer this Snowflake reference documentation. Let's talk about account usage database. So there is a database called Snowflake, and you really need to get into the account admin role to start seeing that database. And there is a schema called account usage schema within the Snowflake database. So Snowflake also shares a database called Snowflake, and this is a shared object which is shared by the Snowflake to your account. Snowflake is a system-defined read-only shared database object. The Snowflake database is automatically imported into each account from the shared name account usage. So it is an account level and is not created for each of your database. The Snowflake database contains two schema and they are also read-only. The first is that account usage, views that displays object, metadata, and the usage metric for your account. Reader account usage, views that displayed object metadata and the usage metric for all the reader account that have been created for your account. So these are the two schemas, and along with that, as we know that information schema would be part of every database, so information schema will automatically come over here. And there is a one more schema which is recently added, but I would not pay attention to that. You can refer the documentation. By default, only account administrator, user with account admin role, can access the Snowflake database. All other users who are not having this account admin role cannot see this database on their web UI. So now we have account usage and we have an information schema. What's the difference? How they look little different and what is the commonality in them? So let's quickly go through it. The account usage views and the information schema utilizes identical structure under the hood and the naming convention, but there are some key differences. So first of all, if you see account usage, right, it includes a dropped object. However, information schema does not include a dropped object. So a question can come from here, okay? The latency of the data, if you fire a query on the top of account usage, the latency varies from 45 minutes to 3 hours. However, the information schema is pretty quick and fast. Retention of the historical data. So account usage is having a 1-year data retention. However, information schema has 7 days to 6 months of data retention. Let's talk a little bit more about the Snowflake database. So this is how the Snowflake database looks like. Since you see that there is a shared icon on the Snowflake and all those tables are kind of a locked, so you cannot make any modification. They are only for the select purpose. And if you see that, as I was telling you, that we have account usage is first schema, information schema is the second schema, which comes automatically for every database. Organization usage is one of the schema which is now available. It was not available earlier, but now this is available. And reader account usage. These are the 4 schema which are available under the shared Snowflake database. And these are the documentation which are available And you can also refer this page to see the detailed stuff. So let's quickly talk about the tables fail-safe summary, right? We all know that Snowflake supports temporary table, transient table, permanent table, and there is external table, right? Okay, so when we talk about a temporary table does not have any fail-safe period. Even transient table does not have any fail-safe period, and I am 100% sure you would be asked one or two questions from the fail-safe period, whether the temporary tables are having a fail-safe period or not. Can I really modify the fail-safe period for a temporary table and transient table? So first of all, fail-safe period is a fixed, which is a 7 days, okay? And whether it is a standard edition or any higher edition, permanent tables will get the 7 days fail-safe period, okay? It cannot be changed at all, okay? And fail-safe should not be used for data backup purpose, right? If you really have to achieve the data backup, you have to use it the time travel retention period. Let's understand the schema object and what is not included. Then we have seen one picture, but I just want to bring that container hierarchy and the different kind of things over here. Okay, so if you see this is the my account, and within my account you will have one or many databases. However, that databases will only and only belong to your account, which is part of a particular cloud provider, and within the cloud provider a particular region, right? And your schema contains tables, views, and stages. Your table will have a permanent, temporary, transient, and external table. Then it will also have the views like standard views, secure views, and materialized views. Then the stages will have a table stage, user stage, and named stage. The named stage are also coming like internal and external stage, and the external stage can be mapped to the AWS, Azure, or GCP. The file format and the sequence objects are other object, stored procedure, and user defined functions. So all those things belong to a schema. So you really need to keep this picture in mind. Okay, what all things which are not part of the account level, like user, role, warehouses, shared object, network policies, reader account, masking policies, object, account level parameters, and integration object. These are the objects which are not part of your database level. They are actually at the account level. So let's understand the type of tables, time travel, and their relationship with the failsafe. We have seen it briefly, but I would like to elaborate this a little more. So we know we have a permanent table. Okay, these are basically standard table and default table, and these are most commonly used, and they have a default time travel of 1 day. You can change it up to 90 days based on what kind of edition you have it. And by default, they have a 7 days of fail safe, which is non-configurable. So when you look into the permanent table, you have a time travel enabled for that, and you have a fail safe enabled for that. Fail safe is not configurable. Time travel is configurable according to your edition. So you can go from 1 day to 90 days, depends on what edition you have it, but by default it is 1. You can also make the time travel as a 0. Next comes the temporary table. So temporary table basically lasts a single session. If you are connected with web UI or through the Python connector, you establish a session, and your temporary table is only last the single session. Once you close the session or terminate the session, temporary table just disappear. Used for storing non-permanent and transient data, like you are performing certain operations and you want to keep it for that session, you can create a temporary table. Can be used for moving data from one permanent to the another with the same transformation within the table. And it does not really have a storage cost. Okay, and if you see into the failsafe, temporary table does not have a failsafe at all, so its value goes to 0. However, the time travel is applicable, since temporary table, if you are keeping the sessions for 3 day or 4 day, basically you can really travel the time. That is possible. But once the temporary table is out of your session, you cannot really get the table. So to get the data or time travel enabled, you need to have the table available in your context or in your session. Let's talk about the transient table. Transient table lasts longer than the temporary table, and it actually can span across multiple sessions. It is very similar to the permanent table. The only difference is that it does not have the fail-safe, and it is relatively less costlier or relatively cheaper than the permanent table. Now, the one important thing you can really have in the same context, you can really have a temporary table having the same name as a permanent table, or you can have a transient table, same name as a permanent table. And when you try to really operate on the select query, first it will go and pick the temporary table over the permanent table. That is how the behavior is. Let's talk about the last table type, which is called external table. So since external tables are stored outside of the Snowflake, okay, obviously it does not support the time travel, neither it supports the fail-safe. So if you lose the data on your AWS S3 or in your ADLS Gen 2, obviously Snowflake cannot recover those data. So it also does not support the cloning and time travel and the fail-safe. And these are only great for the semi-structured data type. So I hope this clarify how exactly look like. Make sure that you understand the fail-safe behavior, its configurability along with the different type of a table, and how the time travel also works for permanent, temporary, and transient table. Sometimes they will try to confuse you that time travel is not applicable for a temporary table, but time travel you can really go and write what was the data looking like 5 minutes and 10 minutes before in the temporary table, as long as you are in the same session where the temporary table is created. Let's look into the views. So views comes in a two flavor, standard and a secure, as well as we have the materialized views, right? So what is the standard views? Which are regular views and most commonly used, execute as a executing role and underlying DDL available to any role which can access the view. So that is the standard views. Let's talk about next thing is called secure views. So only difference in standard versus secure views is that in the secure views, you cannot see what is the SQL statement under the view. The third kind of view is a materialized views. It has a view in the name, but behaves like a table, right? So if you have a large table and if you want to apply a filter condition or some kind of a aggregation, you can really perform through the materialized view. However, there is a limitation in the materialized view that materialized view cannot span multiple tables. You have to remember, and materialized view also cannot query other views, okay? So there are certain rules along with the materialized view which you need to really remember and focus on it. However, materialized view can cost you, and because it stores the data, unfortunately materialized you don't need to manage it. It automatically refreshes itself and it is done by the cloud provider services. Let's talk about the stages. We know that there are four kind of stages: external, internal, table, and user. Let's understand. So internal stages and external stages are very common stages. So we store the S3 or we store the data in S3 or Azure ADLS Gen 2 or a GCP, and we can map that external storage through a table, and which is very common in a Hadoop world through the Hive external table. So these are the most common things. Okay, you can define through the web UI, and they are more flexible than the table and user stages, and you can really write a queries on the top of that by defining the file format. Next comes the user stage and the table stage. So when you create a table, automatically a table stage is created. Okay, you don't need to really create them. It is created automatically. For each user, there is a user stage created. So if you are using a put command, you can really put the data into a table stage. You can put the data into a user stage. You can put the data into an internal stage, and you can put the data into an external stage. So all those things are possible. And this can only be done through the put command through the SnowSQL, right? You cannot use the put command through the web UI. You can also load the data through the web UI. There are sections where you can load the data, but a small amount of data can be loaded. For the large amount of data, you really need to use the put command through the SnowSQL or via any other connector. So getting file into and out of the stages, use the put command as I mentioned, okay? And then you use the copy command to load the data from the stages to the table. The put command cannot be run from the web UI worksheet. The put command can be run from the SnowSQL, the Snow CLI client, and the put command can be run via the other programmatic interface as well. So a question can be asked from that, whether the put command can be executed from the web UI and whether it is supported by the web UI or not. So be careful, try to understand this entire picture. Let's understand some more terminologies where you would get confused sometime, whether it is a platform versus stages, right? So when we talk about a platform, right, when we are choosing an account, we need to really choose either I want to host my Snowflake account with Azure or AWS or a GCP. So that is called your platform, right? Don't get confused with a platform with any other terminologies. So each Snowflake's account sit on just one cloud provider's platform and is chosen when the account is first set up. So be very careful with this statement, right? So you cannot simply change your cloud provider when your account is already set up. This is a one-time thing and which has to be done at the beginning of the account setup. Next is that named external stages. So when I say external stages, it could be S3, it could be ADLS Gen, or it could be GCP bucket, right? Regardless of cloud provider platform chosen, an account can have named external stages on any platform. Very, very important statement, and you have to be really careful while attempting these questions. They will try to confuse you, like, I have an Snowflake which is hosted on Azure, and can I connect to the S3 bucket? So yes, it is possible to do that one. An account can have a multiple named external stages and can make use of all the three cloud platform providers simultaneously. So you are getting a data set in a ADLS Gen 2 or S3 or a GCP bucket, and your Snowflake account can be hosted on Azure, and it can have external name stages to all those three platforms. The next concept is, once you create a stage, right, then these stages are having the named stages to basically AWS the S3 and Azure ADLS Gen 2. Okay, so this is how it looks like. So let's have a quick recap. So now we should be able to explain how this database schema and table fit when it comes to the Snowflake account and the entire container hierarchy. There are 4 different type of tables and its applicability with respect to fail-safe as well as time travel. The behavior of temporary, transient, and external table with respect to the cloning and fail-safe and the time travel. A temporary table have the same name as a transient table or a permanent table or an external table. We have seen that. You should be able to differentiate between standard and a secure view. 4 type of stages. We have seen that. The command to move files from tables to stage and vice versa using the copy command, and it is only and only possible through the SnowSQL or any other connector or a programming language. It is not possible through the web UI. Can a database span multiple Snowflake account or across the cloud provider? No, we have seen that one. A single Snowflake account load data from a different cloud provider? Yes, now it can provide the data from the different cloud provider. And a single Snowflake account be deployed in a multiple cloud provider for continuity of business. We have seen the container hierarchy and it is not possible. The namespace in Snowflake and how does it relate to the container hierarchy. So if you have to really access an object, you know what is the container hierarchy and how you have to really access different object within schema under the database. So before we start our sample questions, I have a disclaimer. These mock tests represent questions from my past experience and just indicative. The scope and the content of future exam may involve, and these questions may need to be reviewed alongside the latest Snowflake documentation. Also make sure you follow the current syllabus and Snowflake guide along with these mock questions. Before we start, let me help you how to navigate these MCQs. Along with question, the type also appears, which indicate if it is a true or a false or a single or a multi-choice question. Snowflake certification exam also helps candidate with a number of correct options in case of multi-choice. Here, I'm not following that approach to make sure you find the solution yourself without any hint. Options appears one after another. Once all the options appears, you can pause, think, and attempt to answer. Finally, the question complexity and tricky indicator appears alongside the correct answer. And finally, an explanation and Snowflake documentation help is provided if available. First question, information schema created automatically under a database is read-only. A true and false question. Next question, it's a bit tricky. After creation, temporary table cannot be converted to any other table type. It's also true and false. Third question, also a tricky one. The data in transient tables cannot be recovered after the time travel retention period passes. True and false, easy to answer. Next is also a tricky question. Materialize views, intermediate result incur additional cost. Whether it is true and false. Materialize views incur cost. Remember it. Fifth question, materialized views can improve the performance of queries that use the same subquery results repeatedly. This is also a true and false question. Question number 6, in materialized view, a background service updates the materialized view after changes are made to the base table. So try to attempt it. So there is a cloud service which is running behind the scene, which takes care of materialized views refreshment. Which of these are Snowflake table type? So a multi-choice question. This is also a simple one. Generally during exam, a lot of subject area will come together and Snowflake will try to confuse you by giving some very odd options. Eighth question, which of the following are Snowflake view types? It's a pretty straightforward multi-select. So it is a simple question and you should know what should be the answer. Question number 9, what are the 3 Snowflake stage type? Select the correct one. So make sure that Snowflake has different stages type. And here you just have to choose the correct, it's a multi-select question. Question number 10, named stages come in 2 varieties. What are they? So you know it is only external and internal. Sometime Snowflake would ask you if the internal stages are same as a platform provider, and you can say yes, because internal stages is nothing but if it is hosted on AWS, S3 would be the internal stages internally, and if it is hosted on Azure, then probably ADLS Gen 1 or Gen 2 would be the internal stages, or the blob would be the internal stages. So make sure that you try to attempt the answer effectively. Question number 11, which type of view is most like a table? Question number 12, which type of view has an extra layer of protection to hide the SQL code from unauthorized viewing? So UDFs are also secure, as well as views are also secure. Whenever it is a secure view or secure UDF, you cannot see the code underlying. Question number 13, in a Snowflake account named JA12341, you need to set a user's default namespace to a database called MYDB and the public schema. Which of the following commands would you use? It's a pretty simple one. This is a tricky question. Select all statements that are true about the Snowflake container hierarchy. So make sure that it is asking about all the possible correct one. So next one is also a bit tricky. In the Snowflake container hierarchy, what container is represented as a in the URL? So question number 16, fail-safe is a 7-day history of a data is automatically available on which type of table? So it's also a simple question. Bit tricky one. Failsafe is provided as a means for accessing historical data after the time travel retention period has ended. It's a true and false question, and make sure you try to understand the statement here. The answer is false. The fail-safe should not be treated as the retention period, and whatever the retention or backup you want to avail, make sure that it is availed through the time travel, and fail-safe should not be considered. Each Snowflake account comes with two shared databases. One is set of sample data and other contained account usage information. Check all true statement about this shared databases. Question number 19, time travel is available for which type of tables? This is also a pretty simple one. And the answer is, so except external table, the time travel is available for all the type of tables. Which type of stages are automatically available in Snowflake and do not need to be created or configured? This is also a pretty simple one. And the answer is A and B, user, and the table stages is created automatically by the Snowflake. Question number 21, which table type disappear after the close of the session and therefore has no fail safe and no time travel options after the close of the session? So this is also a pretty simple one. Here you go with the answer. Little bit confusing. You set up a Snowflake account choosing AWS as your cloud platform provider. What stages can you use to load the data file? So bit confusing, but if you read the statement twice, you would know what it is asking for. An answer is, so yes, you can have all of them available. 23, which of the following object types are stored within a schema? So here it is not asking that what all types, what it is asking, choose from the given below options. So the answer is ABCD. Role doesn't belong to the schema. So this is all about databases. This is all about tables. all about views, all about materialized views, all about stages. Thank you for watching this video and wish you all the best for your Snowflake certification exam. If you find any incorrect information or answer or explanation, share your feedback via comment section below and I would validate and try to rectify it. So if you find this video series meaningful and time saving, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for notification.